Hey, good morning or good afternoon whenever you're watching this. Happy Monday after spring break. Welcome back to what we're working on. Going to go over this homework. This is part one. Uh, let's see if we can get through it quickly. If you remember, simple sine equation, midline, there's nothing, so it'll be a zero midline. You got a one for your amplitudes, and so it'll be a one in front of the sine x. And if there's nothing but just a 1 with the x, or just sine x, the period is, of course, 2 pi. Forgive my writing. I'm doing it on a little slate here while I look at the screen. But the period is 2 pi. Then you got pi in the middle, pi over 2. And this would be 3 pi over 2. Okay. And of course, sine starts on the midline, goes to the maximum. Oh, if it's 0, the maximum would be 1, -1, back to the midline, minimum, back to the midline. You have your sine curve, really hard to draw. Not looking at. All right, so there's one. Next, number 2 on your homework. We're just waiting for number 2. There it is. All right, so it's still going to have the same midline, 0. The amplitude is still 1. So you could do 0 for your midline, 1, -1. But now, since it's sine of 2x, remember, your period is always going to be 2 pi. Oh, don't know what that is. 2 pi divided by, and the number with the x, which is called b, but it's 2 pi divided by that number, 2 pi divided by 2, which would equal just pi. So now, it's just going to go out to pi. So that would be half a pi, pi over 2, half a pi over 2, pi over 4. That'd be 1 pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4. And still sine, so middle, top, middle, minimum, midline, and again the sine curve. This one is just half as long as the one before it. All right. Of course, if you need to pause or go back, keep on moving if you are checking it and you got it right. I don't know what the lag is to go to the next page so much, but all right, number 3. Cosine function. Basic cosine function, midline's at 0, amplitude is 1. Cosine of x, the period is just 2 pi. 0, 1, -1. Goes out to 2 pi. Half of that. Half of pi is pi over 2. And of course, 3 pi over 2. And cosine starts at the maximum. To the midline, then the minimum, back to the midline, back to the maximum. And there you have it. All right, so that's number 3, cosine. And we've done that a few times. And the computer's really laggy, probably because I'm recording video and doing screen video as well as my face video. Wore a school shirt for you today, so you'd feel like you're really there. All right, cosine of 2 pi, midline 0, amplitude 1, 0, 1, -1. If it's 2, then it's 2 pi divided by 2. Again, that period is just pi. If pi is the period, half of pi is pi over 2. Half of that is pi over 4. That would be 3 pi over 4. And again, cosine, start to the maximum, midline, minimum, midline, maximum. And curve. There you go. And again, that's half as long as the one that we just did. All right, let's move on to number 5 then. Ah, all right, so back to a sine, but it's 1/2 x. So again, your midline, 0, amplitude is 1, 0, 1, -1. But now it would be 2 pi divided by 1/2. Now, whenever you're divided by a fraction, you can make that into 2 pi over 1 times the reciprocal of your fraction. So that would be 2 over 1, which would make 2 pi times 2 is just 4 pi over 1. 1 times 1 is 1, so it's just 4 pi. So this is 4 pi. Half of that is 2 pi. Half of that's pi. So we're counting by pi, 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and 4 pi. Sine starts at the middle to the maximum if it's a positive sign, back to the midline, minimum, back to the midline. I hope everyone enjoyed their spring break. I did absolutely nothing but sit around on the couch, watch TV between Hulu, Netflix, and Amazon Prime, Disney Plus. Oh my gosh, I have way too many streaming channels. All right, so there's number 5. And we wait. All right. Number 6, cosine function. Midline again is still, there's nothing, so it's 0. The amplitude is still 1. 0 in the middle, up 1, down 1. The period this time, it's the same idea. If it's a fraction, you can just do 2 pi over 1 times the reciprocal. So that would be 3 over 1, which would make it just 6 pi. So 6 pi would be the end of the period. Half of 6 pi is 3 pi. Can't take half of 3, so that would be 3 pi over 2. And then you're counting by 3 over 2. So that'd be 3 over 2, 6 over 2, 9 over 2. Cosine starts at the maximum, goes to the midline, minimum, midline, maximum. And there's our positive cosine curve. All right, so fraction ends up multiplying by the reciprocal. How many of these do we have? Anybody remember? 16. We're on number 7. And so the midline's still 0, but this time the amplitude changed to 3. So 0 would be in the middle, up 3, down 3. And the period this time would be 2 pi over, or divided by, not a fraction, so just put it over 4 and then reduce. 2 pi over 4 is the same as pi over 2. So if this is pi over 2, half of that, just double the denominator, pi over 4. Half of pi over 4 is pi over 8. That's 1 over 8, 2 over 8, 3 pi over 8. Check what it is. It's sine, positive sine, so it's going to start in the middle. Go to the maximum 3, back to the midline, minimum of -3, back to the midline. There you go. All right. We can get number, number 8. So after watching this video, and I'll mention it in the second part, but there is going to be a quiz that you can take, and you can take it multiple times. So do your best. It's just about these sine and cosine functions. But if you're not happy with your score, you can take it again. Number 8, midline is now not 0, so midline's 3. Let's start at 3. Amplitude is 5. So if you start at 3 and go up 5, add 5, you'd be at 8. 3 minus 5 would put you at -2 for the minimum. And the period, 2 pi over 2. And we've had that before, just pi. So that's pi. Oops. Sorry about that. Come on, change to the eraser. Go ahead. Nope. Yep. Okay. So it's sine, it's positive, it's going to start, go to the maximum of 8, back to the middle at 3, the minimum of -2, back to the middle. Sine. All right. Should be able to do number 9. And then this video will stop and there'll be a second, part 2, to finish the rest of them. All right, number 9, midline, 8. Remember, your amplitude is always positive no matter what, so it'll still be a positive 3. So if 8 is in the middle, 3 up would be 11, down 3 would be 5. There's your minimum and your maximum. Your period is, since that's over 2, that's like a half, so it'd be 2 pi over 1 times 2 over 1, or 4 pi. So 4 pi, half of that, we did this before with 4, that's pi, so that must be 3 pi. But now it's a negative, so pay attention to that sign. Negative cosine, it'll start at the minimum. Go to the midline at 8, to the maximum of 11, back to the midline at 8, back to the minimum of 5. And your cosine curve. All right, to make sure, watch this again if you need to, or go ahead and move on to what'll be video 2 in this one.